Today's date's July the 7th, 1998. We're interviewing Tola, née Tuschinska. My name's Lynn Biner, and the interview is taking place in Melbourne, Australia, and the interview is in English. My name's Lynn Biner, and we're interviewing Tola in Elstonwick, Melbourne, Australia. Today's date's July the 7th, 1998, and the interview is in English. Could you tell us your name, please, and spell it?
I was born in Tuschinska, and I was born in Plotzk at the 12th of the 12th of, it's mucked up now.
That's okay. So I'll just ask you again. We'll take it a piece at a time, so you won't get...
Okay.
You were born?
Yeah, I was born in Plotzk.
What was your name at birth?
Tola Tuschinska.
Tola Tuschinska.
You're typing? Wait till I said it correctly. Did you do typing yet?
Yes.
Oh, then it's horrible.
That's okay.
It's okay. I was born in Plotzk.
And where is that?
In Poland. And I was born in Tuschinska and 1926 in the 25th.
So the 12th of the 25th is the 25th of December?
The 12th and the 25th of December 1926.
Could you spell Tuschinska for us, please?
Tuschinska. Tuszynski.
And could you spell the name of your birthplace for us?
It's in the 12th and the 25th, 26.
Okay. And what other names were you... What's your name now, by the way?
My name is now Belik.
And how do you spell that?
B-E-L-I-K.
Tola Belik.
That's right.
Tell me, when you were born, where did you spend your early years growing up?
Well, I was 2 years old when we left Plotzk and we went to live in Szczecin. That's where my father comes from. And in 1939 we came to Lodz. And I spent till 1944 to the liquidation from the ghetto.
Okay, now we'll go back to the beginning. Would you have any memories of the first place you lived, seeing you were only 2 when you left there? Do you have any memories?
No. I only have memories when we came to Lodz. You know, I was a happy child.
So you said you shifted twice. You shifted to...
That's right.
From
Plotzk to Szczecin.
And where is that?
Plotzk? That's Poland.
Yeah, and where is Szczecin?
Szczecin is from Lodz, like going from here to Sydney.
Like
from Melbourne to Sydney.
Do you know why the family moved at that time?
Yes, because my father had, a factory, like they called it, warehouse, Tyler. And we came to Lodz because he done business, he was traveling around. And that's why we settled in Lodz. And
Szczecin, why did they settle there?
Well, when my father met my mother, he married her and he went to live in Szczecin, and that's where we spent the time. I suppose they work it out where it's best to be business in, so it was better in Lodz, so we shifted to Lodz.
And that's your first memory?
That's the memory, yes.
And how old were you when you shifted to Lodz?
7.
So that would have been 1933, approximately. Is that right?
We came to, well, probably, yeah. So anyway, and we had a very happy home. I was spoiled. I was one girl between 4 boys. And what can I tell you?
Well, you can tell me the name of your parents.
My parents. My father was Isaac. My mother was Sarah. And, like all the parents, they protect the children and all that. And my mother was working too. She was a midwife. And we had everything we need.
And you said your parents met in Beijing, is that right?
No, my father was taking orders, so he was traveling around. And he came to Plotsk, and so he came in to my grandfather, and he met my mother. My mother was a beautiful looking woman, and he fell in love with her. And whenever she went to England to study, he went after her. And then when he got married, you see, my father was about 10 years older than my mother. My mother was 18 at the time. And she was a beautiful looking woman. He was after her. And that's how they married. And then they went to live in Beijing. That's when my first brother was born. And then we went to live in Lodge. And then was another brother born. That's the first one was David.
Do you remember the dates they were born or the years they were born?
The dates, well, if you work it, he was born 1914, my older one.
Mm-hmm. And
then my other brother was born 14, then was 18.
Is that Felix?
Felix,
Mm-hmm.
no, Romek.
Oh, Romek.
But he's not alive anymore. And then was born Felix. He was 1922, and I was born 1926. And then my mother happened to be in Beijing when my younger brother was born. He was Michael and Monique. And he was born in Beijing. So the older one and the younger one was born in Beijing. And us three was born in Plotsk. And that's how it was.
Can you tell me the background of your father?
Well, my father was a very nice person and tried very hard, to make the family happy. And I remember as a little child, every Sunday, I used to come in, I used to come into his bed, and we used to have jewelry. And he always used to say, this is for this one, and this is for this one, and this is for this one, And always, when he came home, and when I was asleep, he always put under the pillow some little chocolates, like little pennies, And, I always used to, with Felix, he always used to say, give me a piece. I always used to aggravate him, and I said, no, I won't give it to you,
So you were the one that was treated more than the others because you were a girl?
Well, I was more spoiled, of course. I was more spoiled. If my brother touched me or something, I used to cry till Dad comes home, and he'd probably give him a pet. I was happy. That's not right either, is it? But that's how it was.
And was he from a religious background, your father?
My father was tradition, and we kept tradition home, and tradition like that.
And what about your mother? You said that she was studying overseas.
Yeah, she was.
Tell me about her background.
Well, my mother was studying medicine, and she went to England, and she studied. And then, she was studying. She couldn't go into the room like they used to have practicing, with dead people. And she found it. She couldn't do that, so she was a midwife, and we had a very happy home. And she had 2 brothers, which they were doctors. And her father was a very known person, he was a felcher, like...
Could you explain that, please?
A felcher is, I don't know what you mean before the war. It's not exactly like they used to say a doctor now, and he used to do that. And for hobbies, he used to paint. He always used to paint. That's where my brother came into it. He used to love painting. And
Could
She
you
had
tell
a-
me the names of your mother, excuse me,
My mother,
and your...
my mother's name was Sarah, and they call her Salka. And that's what my older daughter's name is.
And what was her name before she married?
Bybook. Yeah, their name was Bybook
And her
before she.
brothers' names?
Her brother's name was Bybook.
Their first names?
One was Herman, what I remember, and the other one I don't remember what the really name. And she had two sisters as well.
And their
But-
names, do you remember them?
No. But I got some photos, which my older brother travels around the world and he finds pictures in the from the family, and he sent me some copies from it, which I will show you later about it.
How usual was it for a female to go overseas and study at the time? Do you know?
Well, she was very ambitious, very intelligent person, and she probably wanted to do that, you know.
And she came back and she was a midwife.
That's right, that's right.
And did she practice midwifery as you were growing up?
She was in the first, few years she was, but afterwards, you know, my father probably, you know, she had more children and he probably, you know, she was busy and all that. So, and I can't remember if we had help or not. We probably would. I don't know. You know, I think we did have in the beginning, but I don't know what happened after. You know, things.
And traditionally, children were born at home, including yourselves.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Do you remember the birth of your little brother?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, I went out for the house, you know, because, you know, they took me out from the house. So, I don't know.
And what happened then? You came back and you had a brother?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, when you're little, you don't think you show the little babies and all that. And then, you know, the war broke out, and we went. My two brothers went away, David and Ramek, and Felix. They all ran away, and they went away. And I stayed with my younger brother and my mother at home. And Ramek, you know, he probably in the way when they went to Warsaw, and there was bombarding, and he probably got somebody, you know, he fall, and you know somebody got probably what you call, he shoot him with a gun or something. Yeah, he was wounded, and he lost his photos, and somebody, you know, picked up those photos and brought it back.
This is in Warsaw, he lost the photos?
Yeah, in the White Warsaw, yes. And we thought, you know, that he's not alive anymore. And that's what I was thinking all the time. And my mother was crying and all that. And Ramek David was further away, and Felix came back. You know, they said, you know, he came back and he looked after us. Yeah.
So when would that have been? What year?
That was probably in the, you know, after in the 40s, in the 40s.
Okay.
And
Well,
and then we went in, you know, we went in together, 40s, you know, in one room. We took whatever we could. We live in one room.
I'd actually like to ask you more about
Okay.
the years before that, because
Yeah.
we'll be coming back to
Yeah.
your life in the ghetto.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to know what you remember of your life at home in the early years. You said you were very spoiled by your father.
Yes,
He was
yes.
very loving.
That's right.
What was your relationship like with your mother?
Oh, my mother was wonderful, of course, but I was always my father's girl, you know, being one girl. No, my mother was a very loving person, you know. And
What can you remember about a special time you were together, your mother and yourself?
well, I remember when it was, you know, all a celebration, like, you know, like Passover and all that. It was a happy traditional home. We all were together and all that. And then I still can't remember that much because I was still young. And then when we went in to childhood, you know, young, I didn't have one.
You didn't have
I didn't have one because we all been separated. And then we went into the ghetto. You know, we lived in one room, and we used to go to work, and I used to work in a plat resort, you know, from straw, and they used to make shoes for the soldiers, right? And of course, you know, I used to work, and my mother, you know, used to drink. We had a piece of Russian bread. It was Russian light. And then when my mother, you know, we got that bread, you know, she gave it to my younger brother. And she thought, well, she wanted him to survive. She was drinking water and her stomach blown up. She was like that blown up. She gave away her piece of bread. And then, you know, my brother Felix, he was working in the post office. So when he worked in the post office, you know, he could you know, bring a bit of firework at night time or things like that. And I remember one day he said to me there was, you know, a blava, that's like, you know, taking people, you know, together. And I went in a big carriage, you know, to put anybody off. And there was over there one fellow what I knew, and he said to me, he was working in the office, in the post office, and he said, Tola, jump from the wagon and from that carriage. And I said, I can't. So he pushed me, and I fall to that hole, and then I came home.
Where was the carriage going to?
Oh, I don't know. They're just picking up anybody,
Was
you
this
know.
in the ghetto?
In the ghetto, in the ghetto. And then you know, when we were in the ghetto, I went with my mother. My mother looked like a Christian. I looked like we all really looked like.
Can we backtrack to where were you before you went into the ghetto? Where were you living?
We were living in lodge.
Outside the ghetto?
Of course, of course.
Can you tell me about that time when you were forced into the ghetto? Do you remember what year that was?
Well, there was in the 40s probably. I can't remember exactly the date, but that's when we went in.
Do you remember how old you were when you went in?
No, I don't. I don't know today. You know.
So if you think it was in the in 40,
yeah,
you would have been about 13 and a half.
Well, probably.
Can you remember what it was like to leave your home and
it was
go
terrible.
Do you remember that day?
Well, I really can't remember, but you know, but I think it's horrible to leave your room, with dolls, with everything, and leave. You can imagine yourself how it would work. And we had to leave everything. We went in, you know, from that place to one room and congested with so many people and all that.
Who came with you of your family?
Who came with me? Yes. My Felix.
Yes.
And my younger brother and my mother, and my father died.
When did your father die?
My father died about just in the 39. It probably, I don't know what it was. He just died then.
Where did he die?
He died in hospital. He died in hospital, but I think, you know, I don't know, some guys, you know, some Poles beaten him up or something, you know, and he was beaten up and he got to the hospital. And, you know, I remember when I came and looked through the window, and that's what was.
How did you learn that some Poles beat him up?
Well, there were some good ones, there were some bad ones. I don't know.
But you were told that...
Yeah, that's right.
Do you
Yeah.
remember how you learned that? Who told you that?
Well, who told me that? People or neighbours or things like that, you know. You know, like racism, of course, you know. And
So he was beaten and he died.
he was beaten up and he went to hospital and he died, yes.
He was a very important man to you,
Yes.
naturally.
Yes.
What do you remember of what it was like to have to deal with that as such a young child?
Terrible. I came home from school and I remember I was wearing an uniform, and there was like one piece like a dress with white button. It was navy with a white collar, and I torn all the buttons off. And that's what I remember.
Do you remember his burial?
Yes,
Were you there?
yes, yes.
Where was he buried?
He was buried in Lodge, in Lodge over there. That's where my brother went and put a stone on, because it's nothing there left to see anyway.
And
So
how
that-
did your lives change with the death of your father in those
There
times?
was terrible, I suppose. Well, my mother had to keep going working. And then it was a short time, really, till we went in. Well, the war broke out, and that was that.
You mentioned before that you had very little childhood that was normal. Can you remember a time when you saw it was starting to change from normal to something horrible?
Well, of course, because my father was dead, and and the house was different, and it was completely different when the father's not there, and my mother had to go back to her work to look after, and of course, I suppose my brothers were helping. I couldn't tell you exactly because I can't remember really. And till the ghetto, and then we went into the ghetto.
So your mother and your brothers and yourself.
That's right. So we went into the ghetto, and I was, like I told you, I was working in that flex, in that straw. They call it straw. That make those boots for the soldiers.
Can you tell me, you were telling me what it was like to leave home. You had to leave almost everything, you said.
That's right.
Can you remember, were there things that you were able to take?
Well, whatever we could take. That's all. We couldn't take any furniture or things like that. Only just what we could take with us. And we only had one room, and in the one room was one bed, or maybe another bed, and that's a bit of linen, and that was all.
How did you make sense as such a young child of what was happening? Who explained, or how could anyone explain?
It's very hard. It's very hard to explain, because it's very hard to explain. If you say to, sometimes I talk about it if I go to a celebration, and you start talking, and I can't believe it myself that I went through that, and I still had normal children and all that, because it's hard to believe. It's really hard to believe. But, I was lucky, I suppose. That's that. And when we went into the ghetto, and I was with my mother going out the ghetto, and we were smuggling, so a bit butter or eggs or things, whatever we could.
How were you able to do that? Get out of the ghetto?
Survival. We went together, but we came back separate, but not, on one side.
So was it fenced off? How did you get
Yes,
out?
there was wires. I went behind the wires, and I took off the stars, and I put one star in the stars in the pocket. And then when I came behind the thing, so I just put it one in the back, and in the front I've forgotten. So anyway, that German was chasing us, and my mother was chasing us, like I told you in the interview, a few days, and we thought, she's gone. And he called me and he said to me, "Je has to deine Stern."
Which means?
Yeah, Stern of the Star of David. So I said, I don't know, I probably lost it, but he was a nice one. So he said, "Laus, Laus," he said, "go quick and put it back on."
This was outside the fence.
Yeah. Then I came back, and I had to, but they didn't ask me what I got in my pockets, because if you would ask me what I got in my pockets, well, I risk it, you know. Anyway, you have to die, so what's the difference, which way?
So what did you have in your pocket?
What I had a bit of butter, I had a piece of bread, or I had an apple or something like that.
And where did you get it from?
Well, I got it from Ante things, from Paul's. I gave him some rings, I gave him some things, and they gave me that. But that was going on a couple of times, and then we didn't go because, you know, whatever we had, we gave it away.
What happened to your mother?
Well, my mother wasn't about 2 or 3 days. She didn't disappear. We thought they killed her or something, and she was hiding. So one night she came along, and I said, "Children, that's it. We're not going anymore. We have to make it do whatever we have." And that's what we did.
So there was hunger right from the beginning in the ghetto.
Torture was terrible.
Can you describe to me a typical day in the ghetto at the early part of your time there?
We had rations of, you know, they ration a piece of bread, and we used to go to collect it. And of course, my younger brother always came at me. Why? He said, because he thought that I will leave a piece in the way, there won't be left for the others, you know. So, happy times, we were together, we were hungry, but we still were together, you know. Happy times.
Can you tell me about the Judenrat and Rumkowski? Were they evident to you?
Well, that's it.
No, you can, just a bit more, yes.
Yeah. Rumkowski. Well, Rumkowski was, he was in charge of the ghetto, and he used to come around, and of course, you know, he was a friend of my mother's. So when I was working in that straw resort and plenty of things, and I went to him and I said, "Can you give me some that I can go to the kitchen?" And he slapped me. So and a few days later, you know, I went to work in the kitchen. That was Unaska 32. That was the street. There was, you know, and when I worked there, so I could pinch a bit more soup. I could have a few more potatoes, and sometime I was a good thief. I put in the bottom some potatoes, and the top I put some, you know, peels, and I used to bring it home. And my mother,
we'll finish here, and you can tell us on tape 2 more about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Tape 2 with Tola Bellick. Now, you were just telling us about how Rumkowski, who was your mother's friend, slapped you across the face when you asked for work in the kitchen, but you got work in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, where was he a friend of your mother's from?
He was a friend from before the war. Yeah.
So did you know him at all?
No, I can't remember him. No, I can't remember him. But I knew my mother was saying, you know, that he's a friend. So, you know, I was, you know, I was trying to do anything. You know, I was a good thief. So I said, what I got to lose, I'll ask him. So he slapped me in the face. And
do you know why he slapped you?
I don't know, maybe because of the others, or maybe, I couldn't tell you why. He just did it. But a few days later, I had that job, and which, you know, sometime I used to work at night because I wanted to pinch some potatoes. So I always, you know, put potatoes, the mashed potatoes in the bottom and peels in the top. And I used to bring it home, and my mother used to say, "My poor child, what do you have to do, what do you have to do?" But that's all we had to do to survive.
So you said you were a good thief.
Yeah.
Was it scary to have to steal?
Oh,
food?
yes. Well, you risk it. You're not a man, you risk it. Of course it was scary. But when you're hungry, you do things, you know. And, you know, then the last, you know, I remember that my mother had the wedding ring and she gave it away for a few frozen potatoes, and she gave it away. And then, you know, like I told you, my brother was working in the post office, and they took people to work left and right and all that, but he wasn't allowed to pinch anything. And he said to me, "Tola, get that bag of potatoes, then we'll have something to eat." And I don't know how I had strength to put a bag of potatoes in my bag, and I went quick with it. I just don't know. When I recall today, I just don't know how I did it. And my mother was crying, and she said, you know, and that's what I did. And at night time, my brother Felix used to pinch wood because he was working in the post office. So he pinched some wood. And we had a little bit of warm and all that. And then, then when my mother died, we kept her for a few days in the house, that so we can pick up the piece of bread. That was terrible. It was terrible. I had to go out of the room because she couldn't die. You know, I remember I was shaking the bed. She opened up her eyes. I had to go out. But before that, you know, they took all the people in the outside in the outside in the street. And my brother Felix was standing in the first floor, and he put a little child. The child was maybe 2.5 years in a wardrobe, a neighbor's child. And he said, "Don't cry." And my brother was in a linen basket covered up, and my mother was in bed. I made the bed and thing. And he said, everybody was out, and I was standing downstairs. And he said, yes, but if they would go and check it, they would on the spot, they would kill him.
Who would come and check?
The German, if they will go and check. And this child was so clever, she didn't cry. She didn't cry at all. And that was that. And then when my mother died, I told you, we kept her in the house to keep the piece of bread. And then I remember, you know, there was a poor little horse with a little carriage, and they put all the dead people in the top, in that little carriage, like sardines. They took her away, and then we went, the three of us, when they buried her near the fence over there. But after the war, I went there, and there was still the grave there. There was still the grave there.
Did it have her name and the names of the other people?
Pardon?
Did it have her name on the grave, or the names?
No.
There's a marked spot, is there?
No, it wasn't nothing. It was nothing. That's when my brother David went back to Poland, and he put just a plaque in the cemetery, you know. And he put my mother's and father's picture in the little, you know, he drawn grave. And I can't find it where it is. So I had it there. And then,
what year was this that she died? Do you remember?
44, 8th of May, the 8th of May, 1944. And then there was
How did you all manage after that?
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's very hard to describe. It's very hard to describe. And then, you know, they liquidate the ghetto, and we went in. That was July, beginning of August. You know why I remember July? Because it's my brother's birthday in the 19th of July. That's why a few days later we were all liquidated, the ghetto, and we went and they took us in the wagons. You know, took us in the wagon and put it in like sardines.
Before we get to that point, can
Yeah.
you tell me, did you see other deaths in the ghetto and actions that
Oh
took place?
yes,
Can
yes.
you tell me about some of those
Oh,
things?
the people were going in the street. They were hungry. They were skinny. They hardly could. They were begging for food, and some died in the gutter. And the German went through. They seen if somebody still breathed. They killed him. They killed him like they would have, you know, fun out of that. You know, some of them, they were like really murders, and some of them really had maybe a little bit of feeling, you know, but most of them, they were rotten. You know. Then when we went to, then the
You were saying the liquidation.
when there was a liquidation, and in the ghetto, they said to Rumkowski, you have to give so much people and all that, and every time he said, look, you don't have to worry, you're going to work and all that. We didn't know that something gas chambers exist. We didn't even know. We didn't know anything about it. Nothing. And then then when we went from the ghetto, they took us in wagons, all of them, and they were packed like sardines, all of them. They were packed. And then when we came, we didn't know that was Auschwitz. We didn't know it was there. And then we came in the wagons, and they were all soldiers, and they put the old people in with the children separate, and they selected the young one.
Who were you
separate.
with?
I was, with who I was?
Yes.
I was with my brother Monique, with my brother Felix. And you know, when we got down, because Felix had that from the post office, that thing, that
What did he have?
he was working in the post office, and he had like a little what you call it,
Armband?
armband, yeah, and they didn't know what it was, so beating him up, and they beaten him so up, and that's why he got one lung now, you know, and I told you that I didn't know he was alive anymore, and my younger brother went down and he started screaming, don't leave me, I want to go with you, you know, and he was screaming terribly, and all were screaming, and they selected the girls separate, all the children separate, and they took us out. They cut our hairs, and they gave us, they undressed us, and they gave us some soap and towel, and they could have guessed us too, because some was guessed, we didn't know. And then we came out. When we come out, if you were a tall one, you got a short dress, and when you were short, you got a long one, and they wouldn't swap it because they were warm. And then they trying, you know, to shave off our heads, they think. And I was wearing a little hat for my parents, you know, mother and father, and they start looking into the mouth. I took it into my mouth. And then they start looking to my mouth. I took it out and threw it away. I was frightened. It was frightened. And then they selected us. I was in Auschwitz for about, can't remember how many days, few days. And
Did you have a number, did you say?
And in Auschwitz?
Yes.
Yeah, they gave us a number, yeah.
And
5,807. It's like a dog, no? A little child with a big number, like, can you imagine, with art hair, and we look like really animals, you know. Anyway,
Did you know anyone with you, or were you by yourself?
No, I was by myself. I knew people, you know. What we knew, we didn't recognize each other anymore. So anyway, and and we were standing collected, and in five, and I was very thirsty, and I ran into a wash house, and there was lying piles of dead people. And I ran in and I had a drink of water and I ran back, and you know, and that that woman she said the woman assistant, she said, I wanted to know who was that quick. I won't do anything, you know, but nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. So we're standing in a pill, and in that pill, they sorted us out. We didn't know where we're going and what I do. So they gave us, you know, a bowl of soup for five people, 5 girls. So everyone looked in the mouth. If you don't have a zip more, you know.
The girls looked in the mouth.
Our girl, one another, looked in the mouth. So we won't have a zip more. So we had that. And then after that we seen, you know, that so much smoke goes, but we didn't know what happening. We really didn't know. And people were running. They looked like animals there, but we looked the same animals. We didn't know what it was. And then they came.
Did anyone speak to you? Did any of them?
No, we were not allowed. We were lying in the bridges over there, like, you know, like everybody, you know, for everyone to move to each other to keep warm and all that. And then they select us, and they took us to Niederschlesing. Over there was a flax factory, but from cotton.
Where is Niederschlesing?
It is in Germany.
Is it a work camp or a concentration camp?
That was like a working camp, but it was like a concentration camp as well, because you couldn't go out and you couldn't go in.
How did you get
over there? Well, they selected, we were lucky, you know, they picked us up over there, and we went.
How far away was it from Auschwitz, do you remember?
I couldn't tell you, because, you know, the wagons went back and forward, so they pretend that we're going far away. But I don't think it's very far from München. I couldn't tell you exactly, because, you know, I didn't went back to the places.
Did civilians see you at any stages while you were being transported from one place to another?
Pardon?
Did civilians see you at any...
Oh, yes, of course.
And
of course. They didn't say nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. They didn't say nothing. And, you know, that some of them, you know, they thrown sandwiches and things like that, but they were not allowed to do it. But they did it. Who get it, and, you know, and the soldiers were so horrible. They beaten us, and he said, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And one was frightened for the other, you know. So anyway, so when we went into that camp, and I was over there working. That was flax factory, cotton, and I was always crying. And one of the assessment always beaten me because I was crying. You know, there was an older man, and he put an apple or a piece of bread in the flax where the rubbish is, and he wrote it down. Don't ever say, if they catch you, that I put in, otherwise I get shot.
Who was this older man?
That are German working there, yeah. And so, you know, so I had been some time, you know, I went in over there to a hospital and I gave the apple because some of the girls were sick, and I gave it to them. They couldn't eat the bread, you know, something like that. It was swapped around. And then, you know, we were standing in the appeal over there, and there was in the corner was a bag of kohlrabi, like I told you. And I pinched that kohlrabi. Was 3 girls of us, and I said, whoever pinched, we shared it. And I Today I couldn't pinch anything. I was pinching that kohlrabi from the corner in this assessment. The woman, she chased after me. There was about 6 floors to go up where we was lying. And I went to another bed and I threw this away in another bed. And I was lucky, you know, that otherwise I would got a hiding that I wouldn't be able to move. What was left, I was skinny anyway. And that's how I survived.
Did you get to eat it after that?
Oh yes, I shared it. There was, you know, those heaters, what you put the warm heaters and I cut it up and put it in between to like cook it, half cook it, you know, or potatoes, whatever the 3 of us pinched, we shared it. We couldn't share it with everybody. So we did that.
Who were the 3 of you?
Well, one of them, she died already, and one of her daughter was a very close friend of my daughter, you know.
And what was her name?
I can't think anymore. What's her name? What was her name? Can't think of anymore anyway. She was a very close, her daughter was very close to my daughter. I've forgotten her name already, so many years already. Anyway, so and that's how I survived.
3 of you looking after each other.
Yeah, we did, you know. And then we said, you know, when the war finished, there came, you know, a Russian soldier came.
Can I get, before we get to
Yeah.
liberation, can you tell me,
Yeah.
you've described things about yourself
Yeah.
that sound as though they surprise you. You said you were a spoiled child,
Yeah.
and then you were
I
learned
had
to be a good thief. Tell me about yourself, the person you were at that time. By now.
Oh, it's very, very, I don't know, I'm jumping from one thing to another,
It's okay.
another.
So,
What would you like me to
well,
say?
tell me about the person you were, from a spoiled child.
Yes, and I had to learn to be tough, and I had to learn to pinch a potato, I think, to survive. It just shows you, when you have to survive, you do it. I didn't know how to hold a broom in my hand, and I had to learn to do things. Yes, I've forgotten to tell you that when they caught us in the ghetto, there was a lorry of bricks, you know, those what they're putting to heat, you know, bricks.
Briquettes?
Yeah, like bricks, not bricks like what make fire.
Is it briquettes? Black
Briquettes,
yes.
that's right, that's the name. And they called 3 girls, and the 3 of us had to, in a half an hour, to clean up that lorry. So one chased the other to do that. I don't know how we did it. I just can't recall. I don't know. It must be the power of survival or anything like that. You see? And I just don't know.
And how was your health at this stage?
How was that? I was very skinny, and you know, I didn't have any nourishing or anything like that. I was very skinny.
Did you have your period?
No,
Did
no,
any of the
I
girls
didn't.
or women?
No, we didn't have. I didn't have till after the war when I started eating. Then I had to start eating very, very carefully, and we're like a baby, you know. That's because at that time we wasn't used to eat anymore, and that's how we start eating and everything. And I said, you know, I'm coming back to when we liberated, right? When we liberated, and you know, there was one of the Russian fellow was on a horse, and we ran out and we went all to that horse. And we started man kissing and all that, and he didn't know. I said, what happened? What happened? And he was a Russian soldier, a Jewish one, and he started talking Yiddish, and he said, what happened? And we started crying and telling him what happened and all that. And I went and got a hack, and I was looking for that German where he's beaten me. I couldn't
What did you
find
go
him.
and look for?
For that fella, what he beaten me.
And
for
what
the
were you
German.
looking for? You said you looked for a hack.
A hack.
An axe?
An axe,
Yes.
that's right.
You were
An
looking-
axe. I looked for an axe and I find it, and I was looking for that bastard, excuse me my language, but he was hiding. I couldn't find him. It's for anger. I got a chicken and I chopped the chicken's head off, and then I said, well, I said to the Russian, that fella, I said, I want to do to them what they did to us. And he said, come on, girls, come on. And we went into one German house. And look, we didn't do to them what they do to us, really. That's, you know, and we tried to beaten them and shave off the hair like they did to us. But this is nothing, they're still alive. What they did to us, we didn't burn them like they did burn us. So anyway.
Did this surprise you, what you felt? Did you know you were going to feel that way?
Yeah, I was like a murderess when I survived. I tell you, after the war, I was like, and I said, look, I'm only one left, I got no one left, what I got to lose, and that's what I did. And anyway.
Did this come as a surprise to you? Did you feel murderous before liberation?
No.
So,
no.
What sort of a feeling was that?
I just, you know, we said, we left by myself, I have to kill them like they killed us. And that's what they, but I didn't do it, I couldn't do it. That's what I did.
So the Russian took you, was it outside?
Oh,
the
outside,
camp?
yeah, outside. And we went to the house, you know, to German house, like I told you. We cut the hair off. And we beaten them just the same. We took some clothes to dress because we didn't have any clothes, nothing.
What did that feel like to be able to do that?
Oh, I don't know. I can't recall. It was long, Ellenstein, you know. And I said, I have to go back to Poland. I might find from four brothers one. My friend from four brothers one. And I went and I registered in my name, where I am, but I was somewhere else, you know. I was in another place.
Can we just backtrack? I just want to
Yeah.
find out what date you were liberated.
In the 8th of May, a year later.
1945.
That's right.
And was there any warning that you were going to be liberated?
No,
Just
we
out of the
didn't
blue.
know. We seen that all ran away, the German, was no one there. And I
In the
was seeing
camp.
a horse come and with a Russian soldier, so we, you know, because if they would have time, they would kill us to the end. You know, they would kill us to the end, they would know. So anyway.
How old were you when you were liberated?
How old was I?
19 and a half?
Maybe 19.
26?
Yeah.
45.
How old was I?
You were born in 1926 and you were liberated in
19.
May 1945.
Yeah.
So you were 19 and a half, I think.
19 and a half, whatever you say. I can't. I lost counting. My head can't count anymore. And I went back to Poland.
How did you get back?
And we went with the station. The station over Go. I can't remember, but when we went back, and I went to the committee, I registered
Before
my
we
name.
get to Poland,
Yeah.
what did you see along the way and what were you hearing along the way?
Well, what we were seeing, yeah, we went in the wagons in the way back, and they were screaming, you know. They say, look at them. They thought we killed them all, and there's still plenty of them.
Who was saying this? Germans, Poles, both?
All of them, all of them. And in some of them had sandwiches, and they thrown in some sandwiches and give me sandwiches, and in the sandwiches were glass inside. Yes, some of them. Yes, so some of them in the way died as well. So when we came to Poland, like I said, I went to register in the committee, but I stayed somewhere else. And of course, my brother Ramek survived, and he came.
Where had he been?
Even run away, like I told you, Nevarshi when he went. He ran away and he survived. He was in probably the partisan, he was in Russia, and he had a very bad experience, very tough time. And when he came back, I didn't recognize him. And I thought, like, when he lost his photos, remember in the beginning, and I said, he's not alive anymore. And I said to him, where's David? David, where's Romek? I thought it's my older brother. And he said, no, I'm Romek. I'm Romek. And he said, you know, and he said, where are your plates? Where are your things, you know? You know. And I told him. And the whole room were crying. I said, you're lucky you still got a brother. We didn't find anybody yet.
Was this in your old home that you...
No.
Where was it?
No, that was in somewhere else, you know, I was with the girls. That was in Kamina 8, in another house, And I was there. And then, you know, I'm going in the street, and a friend of my brother said, you know, Felix is alive. And I said, where is he? He said, Kamina 8. And I said, I am Kamina 8. And he was in the first or second floor, and I was in the fourth. We didn't know for about 2 weeks that he is alive. You know, the girls find him there, a rubbish tip. They had somebody breathing. And the girls went there and took him to the room and washed him and put some girls' clothes and brought him back to Poland. And that's where I met my brother. So my brother goes up, you know, then I start feeding him and like a little child, because he couldn't eat anything, he couldn't eat. And then he was a bit better, and he went up the street. He went up the street working, and you will show the picture from my cousin, and he saw a soldier, a Russian soldier, and he said, your name is Nathan, you're my cousin. And he said, my name is Nathan, but I haven't got cousins like you. And I said, my mother is, your mother is Kreindl, and it's a sister to my father, Isaac. And then he said, yes, they took around each other, they started crying. That's it. So you, yeah, finish?
All right, we'll wind up here. We'll take this up on the next tape.
One day he said, do you want a tissue there?
Tape number 3 with Tola Bellic. You're telling me about reuniting with brothers and your cousin. What happened to Moniek?
He didn't come. He didn't come back. He didn't come back. He went to the gas chamber with all old people, the children with all. He was such a smart little boy, so intelligent and so clever. You know, when he said, don't leave me, I want to go with you. You know, when I had my first child, Sandra, I was so sick. I just realized what means a mother, a father, brothers, and all that. I was sick. 2 doctors came every day. I thought that I won't survive. I was so sick. Still, sometime in my dreams and I was thinking, he screamed. He said, don't leave me. I want to go with you. You cannot understand. Nobody. Nobody. And when I came back, you know, to Poland, and then we said, you know, we got nothing to look forward to here. We have to go back to Germany. We got family in Argentina, in America. We have to go away from here. So we went to, so I was lucky. I had 2 cousins, and I had three cousins.
What were their names, or what are their names?
Well, one is Topka, the one with the brother, Nighton, what is in America. The cousin is not alive anymore. The brother is. And then there was Fela, it's a cousin, and she married my brother, Romek. My brother is not 7 years since he's died. And is he in the picture with me? And then my brother David, and we said we're going to Germany. We have to wander out. And when he came to Germany, my brother Felix knew, you know, he started looking at auntie in America. Actually, she is.
Where did you go in Germany?
In Germany, I went to Bergen-Belsen.
What was happening there?
In Bergen-Belsen, we came to Bergen-Belsen, and my husband was there working for UNRWA. You know, he was giving out food for the refugees, and I slept in my brother's friend, what I knew before the war, and there wasn't room for everybody to sleep together, so we part. Everybody slept somewhere else, and I slept over there. And so she said to me, "Look, my husband came in." Then
What's his name?
Yeah, and she said, "Look, he's a very nice boy, you know, and what about meeting him?" And I said, "Look, I don't want to meet anybody. I got my brothers to look after, you know, my brother looking after me." And he saw me. That minute, he didn't leave me alone, you know. He didn't leave me alone. You know, I was always joking when we had a, you know. So I had thrown in and said, "I married you for pity." And he always used to say, "Yes, I know," you know, just for joke.
What's his name?
Sam Bellick. And you know, we were going out for a while, and then he said, you know, he was lonely and all that, and he said he wants to marry me. And I said, "I'm not married, I'm not ready for marriage, because, you know, I got my brothers to look after." And he said, "I'm by myself, I got nobody." And so anyway, we went to Landshut. My brother found a cousin in Landshut.
Could you tell us where that is, please?
Yeah, Landshut is by München, and her name was Edja, my cousin. And
is that in Germany?
in Germany, yes, you find a cousin in Germany. She was only about 16. This is the sister, the beautiful sister, what she had in Plotzk. What the German used her up, and then they killed her. I showed the picture. And we went to Landshut. And of course, my husband, you know, he wanted to marry me, so my brother went and brought him there to Landshut, and we got married in Landshut, 1946.
On what date?
And the 16th of July, 1946, I still got the wedding ring there.
And what sort of ceremony did you have?
Well, there was American chaplain. He came and he made, you know, the wedding. And of course, my brothers went with the bikes to the country to bring chickens, and my sister-in-law was cooking and making, and all that. They made a wedding like my parents would be alive. They really done that. And after, you know, after we got married, so we wrote, we want some permit to my auntie to America. She was a cousin, really, but I always called her as a little girl auntie, because she had two, a boy and a girl. She had, the boy was older a year, and the girl was a year younger. And she wanted me very badly to come to America, and I didn't want to separate my brothers. I said, when my brothers go, I go too. So anyway, that was that. And so my sister had a girlfriend, but she married before the war. She came here to Australia. She went to school with her together. So she set a permit for her. And then she made a permit for us, and I came.
When did you come?
Pardon?
When did you come here?
I came 48. 48. My daughter was 1 year old. She was born in Germany, yeah. And after my brother Felix came here, and we settled here. And it's a beautiful country. I wish I was born here, you know.
What did you know about us before you got here?
What I know, well, they come with a little child, and they wouldn't take you into they wouldn't rent you a room. You know, they were not used to it. They wouldn't rent you a room with a child and all that. There was a very hard time, but my husband was a self-taught man. He done anything. He was working in Holden, and he was working in a fridge, anything to make a bucks.
Can you tell me more about not being able to be rented a room? Did that have anything to do with you being migrants or time
Oh, well, they didn't, I don't know. You see, the Australian people, they were not used to migrants. And I don't know, but afterwards, you know, and you get used to it, it's like newcomers, and you don't know the language and all that. I mean, it's hard. It's more civilized now, you know, but if you want to work, and you was looking for work, you could get plenty of work. There were nothing about it, you know. It's different then, and it's different now. It's generations, you know, and the country is, there was new. They didn't know about anything, continental things and all that.
What year did you arrive?
48.
48.
48. I just wished, I said many times, I wish I was born here, didn't have to go through all that hell. You know, some were lucky, some, I suppose I was still lucky that I survived and I still had normal children and I educated. And it's very, very hard.
So work was easy and life was hard.
It was hard. Well, I used to go to work and I used to bring up, at night time I used to do my housework, and there wasn't the nappy wash or anything like that. You have to wash in the copper, and we had a fridge and it was very hard work. But we didn't mind. We didn't mind at all. You know? And now, you know.
Where did you live when you first came here?
Where do I live? I live in Hotel Oslo, you know. That's in St. Kilda. You remember Hotel Oslo? No. We lived over there. And then we gave £500 key money for a flat. You know, we were lucky because my husband used to do some, you know, he worked in Germany, you know, and he was a smart cookie. Nothing was too hard for him to do, and we had a few dollars.
And what, so, you said you were working too. What were you doing?
Well, I was. I looked in the paper, and I was in a knitting factory, sewing out buttons. And now I sewed buttons, and he needed workers. And I said, "Look, I got a little child," and he said, "All right, I'll pick you up with the child, and you come to the factory." So I took him with me in the factory, and after a few weeks, you know, I was managing his factory.
What was the name of the factory? Do you remember that?
Yeah, there was knitting, Mr. Kippen. There was a knitting factory. Yes, Kippen. There was an Chapelstead over there, where the Windsor. Yeah, over there. Yeah, over there. And a lot of things. And then we done different things. Anything.
What was the Jewish community like at that stage?
Well, the Jewish community didn't help that much like they do now when refugees come and they give you you know, a room, and they give you furniture, and they give you some money. Those days there wasn't like that. Maybe now it's different, you know, when people come and they help.
So did you feel on your own?
Yes, that's right. Everything, yeah, and it was very hard, but we were happy. We were happy, you know. I had my brothers here. I was so happy.
Was there a large survivor population here at that time?
Not that time when we came, but afterwards, 50, like start to come more and more and more, because you know we came and because they sent, you know, we had a permit, and we sent for that, but we didn't come in a luxury boat. We came in a the Sriento boat. You know, the men were separate, and the women were separate, and we were living in in the camp, like in those bunkers. But you know, it wasn't so pleasant. But still, we were happy. We could come. You know.
Did
we
that bring back
started like-
memories of the camp, being in conditions like that?
Well, not exactly like a camp, because you knew when you finished the journey that you look forward to something new, something better life and all that, which was hard in the beginning. You know, you had to work and you had to save, and there wasn't any washing machines, and there wasn't any everything you had to do by copper, and everything, the toilet was outside. It was different, completely different. But now, you know, it's different again. That's the third generation. That's different again. You know?
You were telling us how when you had your first child, Sandra,
Yeah.
how sick you were with
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah.
Did
Everything.
you get over that to some extent?
Oh, it took me a long time, and you know, I was very sick, and I went away to that's in Germany. It took me back in the hills over there, and my brother came with me, and we had somebody to look after the baby. And took about a year till I was there. I thought I'm finished, because doctors came in, 2-3 doctors a day, and I was very, very sick.
Was that physically as well
Yes,
as emotionally?
everything.
And what
everything.
do you think helped you get out of that?
Well, my brother, my husband, and everything. I had cares, medication cares, and which, you know, I got.
And you had more children, didn't you?
Yeah, but after 6 years, I didn't want to have any more children, because, you know, I had to work and I had to look after and think. It was very hard. And she always was crying, why haven't I got, and then why I haven't got a papa? And I said, Hitler killed him. I can't give it to you. And she was always like that, you know. And then, you know, I said, she was about 5, and I wanted to go and teach her piano. She said, I don't want piano, I want a baby. I want a sister like this one got and the other one got. And I thought maybe she's right, one child is no good to have. So I decided to have another one. That's Judith. She's a lovely girl.
And was it
Gorgeous.
easier this time?
It was a bit easier because, you know, I had already, you know, I had already my own house. You know, we were in the fruit shop, and we worked hard, but it was a bit easy, and she looked after, you know, and like anything, the bigger one. And she was a good girl. Sometimes she stayed in a cot and played for hours by herself. Very good. The first one didn't know how to bring it up, you know. And afterwards, you know, she was nearly 6, Nana was 12, and my husband said to me, I would like to have a boy, you know, to carry on the name. And it was a very, very hard decision to make, you know. You don't know if you have a boy or not a boy. You know, anyway, I was lucky, you know, that I had that boy Harvey.
When was he born?
Gorgeous. He was, yeah, well, he was born, I think, the whole hospital thought it's my first child, flowers with telegrams and all of that. He's a gorgeous boy.
Do you remember his birth date?
Yeah, 4th of July.
Which year?
60. 1960, and when he was little, he said he liked to write a letter to America to get him a present. You know, and really, you know, when I had him, it was a bit better, and I had the conditions better, and I wouldn't say the girls think that I spoiled him, but I don't think he spoiled him. I spoiled all my children as much I could. I gave them love and I cared and everything, whatever I can. But and then he decided, you know, when he went through medicine and everything, and he went to Beitar, and he met Loretta. She was 14, he was 15. That was his first love, and he loved her very much. And he went to Israel, and she went after him. Well, look, it met to be. She's a lovely girl, and they're happy together. And they got 3 beautiful children. They got Jonathan and Daniel, and Ayelet, the little girl. She's my little princess. She's really my little princess. She said, no, I'm a little girl. And
Your other grandchildren?
oh, they're gorgeous.
What are their names?
My older one, Sandra, is Ashley and Annalisa. And for my other daughter, Judith, is Jessica, Rebecca, and Josh. He's gorgeous too. He's so gorgeous. He said, Nana, why you have to stay here by yourself? You come to live with us.
So they're in Israel, is that right?
No,
Oh.
this one is here. Harvey is in Israel.
We're going
With
to try and
Loretta.
speak to him later.
Yeah, he is in Israel. And I hope that never happen that again. I hope that we should fight for every right in the world. That will never happen such a Holocaust. That's people should go in the gas chamber for nothing, for human, for just being human.
We didn't speak about your grandparents, and you were telling us just before about Sandra saying, where were your grandparents and what happened to them?
Well, my grandparents, they were living in Plotzk when we shifted, so I can't remember him. I was 2 years old, so I can't remember remember them. They probably died normally, you know. So I didn't know either of my father's parents, and not either of my mother's parents. But I got some photos. Whatever it's left from my brother David, what he's sent it to me, because he goes around the world. He's an artist, so he goes around the world. He find out family, and he was in Argentina for a wedding, and he said to his cousin, "Have you got any old photos? Have you got any photos?" And he took out a shoebox, and he brought that picture out with my mother and father is when she was pregnant with my older brother. So he sent it, and my brother Felix make a picture and framed it, and he brought it over for my birthday. I was very excited about it, which was very nice.
How many members of your family died during the Holocaust? Do you know?
The whole family. No one left. Just a few cousins. That's all. Everybody was a big family. My father's family, we had brothers and sisters. I don't know how many, from a large family. From my mother's family, there was 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and they didn't survive. And none of the children survived, just the 2 cousins, what I told you from Plotzk, the one which was a beautiful looking girl, and the German came in and used her, and then they killed her. And the other one was in the camp, and she died. She was 36, she had leukemia. She's dead about what is it? She was 36, about 30 years already. She's dead. But she got children, which are still alive. And the husband is still alive in Sydney. They live in Sydney.
Tell me a bit about Sam.
About Sam. Well, Sam didn't have any of his family left. You know, when I married him, he always was jealous of me. He said, I had sisters and brothers, and none of them survived. Would have only one left. And I said, it's not my fault, is it? It's not my fault. He said, he came from Rajowitz. That's near Helm, and they had a butcher shop over there. It's a little town. My son was there. He made a video out of it. And he had a happy home. And one of the workers who worked there, and he said to his mother, I will survive, you will survive with your two sisters. But she gave him everything, and they took him to the bush, and they killed him. And he was 13 years old, and he was standing from a little bit far away, and he saw that. As a 13-year-old boy, he used to tell me that. He never used to tell me any stories. When he had heart trouble, when he had bypass, he started telling all his story. He always was bottling up. He never used to say anything. But afterwards, he said he loved his children, he loved his family. He was a hard worker and a good provider. Nothing was too hard for him. And now when I need him, he's gone.
When did he die?
It will be in the 25th of this month. It will be 3 years. 3 years and he's gone. It's lonely sometimes. Don't like to be a burden for my children. They got their life to do. We all try our best. That's what we do.
You said that he didn't speak about any of this till later. Did you speak to him about the things that had happened to you?
Yes, I always used to do. I always used to be a talker. He always used the bottle, everything. But when he had his heart surgery, that was 20 years ago, from the first, and you know, there was a friend of the family, and he's an orthopedic surgeon. His name is Joe. That's my son-in-law's brother-in-law. And he always used to say, Sam, go have your bypass. It's life-prolonging. And he was scared. He was very scared for knife and blood, but I didn't know that till he died and somebody told me. That's what he was, his doctor told me. That's, he was always frightened for it.
You also mentioned before that you had dreams. Were they dreams in the present, or have you dreamt in the camps?
I had dreams which my husband always used to wake me up at night. I was screaming, you know, what I went through and all that. He used to wake me up at night. And I said, what was it? He said nothing. He wouldn't tell me. And lately, I go in torture, maybe because, you know, I'm by myself and I'm thinking a lot. I'm trying to keep myself busy. So the worst part is at night when you're not well. This is the worst part. I got good children, but they are busy. They try the best. What can you do? They got their life to run. I try to be not a man to anybody.
What did your children know of your experiences as they were growing up?
Oh yes, they know. Well, they often, you know, they like to have a grandmother, they like to have a grandfather, and all that. They never had that. Well, they had heart, you know, when I had a shop, You know, they used to study, they used to come in and serve. I mean, it was hard for them too. And it's very hard when you study and you have to come in and serve and all that. And he said, well, I had a woman working, she didn't have any children. She said, can I adopt your little boy? And she used to take him in the weekend to her place. And she used to adore him, really. You know, and he said, you'll be my grandmother. And every time there's birthday or things, she always made a cake and brought it into the shop and all that. There's some nice people around too. They're not all bad. You know, the good one pay for the bad one, isn't it? I got neighbors, all type of ethnic here, and they're all nice people around here. Really. That's why I don't like to shift from here.
So what did your children know about what you went through when they were young?
Well, when they were young, they really didn't know. They didn't understand. But when they got older, and they were reading books and this like that. But it's still, you know, you read a book and you put it away. It's a book. But when you go through yourself, it's different. I don't believe myself I went through. That I still have normal children and educate them and all that. And I'm making that video for my children because my daughter-in-law said to me, Tola, you have to make the video. I had two fathers and I got nothing to show to my children. My first one was 28 years old, and he died. She was 2 years old. And her mother remarried when she was 6 years old. And he died too, you know, 2 years ago. And she said, do it for the children. We want to have a video. So that's why I decided to make it, for my grandchildren. So they remember it. It's because I don't know how long I'm going to live. Don't know.
We'll finish at this point and pick it up on the next tape. Tape 4 with Tola Bellic. Do you believe in God?
I believe in God, but in this moment, when I see him picking up children and throwing into the fire and throwing into the hole and having horses running over their heads, I didn't believe it. That is one. They're taking people, hang people, and we had to go all and see them and all that. What would you think? It's a God? It's a God if we do things like that. It is a God, but it's people what are doing that. The world is nice, but horrible people doing that. They're doing that. You have to believe in something. You know, otherwise you're nothing. I believe in tradition. And I believe I go once, I don't run to the synagogue. I only go once a year, you know, like to Kol Nidra and to Iske. Or maybe twice to Iske. You know, my Judith, you know, she believes and she changed. She's became a little bit from, well, this is her choice. And it's beautiful, it's lovely, she likes it. I come there Friday night, it's lovely. But what I do in my house is in my house. I like tradition. I was brought up in that.
What do your grandchildren know about your experiences?
Well, my grandchildren, I hope they never have that experience. I hope they'll never happen, and never again. And that, well, they know that, you know, that I'm a Holocaust survivor. They read books. They've probably seen pictures and all that. But they believe in it that was like that. But some other people, you know, they seen it. Like I said, they read a book and put it away. Who never went through that can't believe it. It's impossible. I don't believe myself. Sometimes I don't believe myself that I went through all that. It can't be. And then in the other hand it was, because I lost a lot of loved ones. And then I'm lucky, you know, that I'd married, and I had a good husband, and I had normal children, and I tried to educate him that what I'm a self-taught educated person, because instead of going to educate myself, I had to work and make a home and have a roof over their head. See, now I'm starting to go to school like a little child.
What are you doing at school? What school are you going to?
I'm going to U3I.
Which is?
This is for the middle age.
University of the Third Age, is that it?
That's right, yes, University of Third Age.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to be occupied. Sometimes my head doesn't register, you know. I wanted to learn bridge, I can't. My head can't. You have to have a clean head. If I have worries and aggravation, you can't. You have to have really, you know, a clean mind. I love reading, and lately, you know, I can't read either. My eyes are getting sore. Maybe I'm getting old. Like I said to my Joshua, I said, my screws are getting loose. He said, yeah, I've got screws, Nana. You
How
know?
old are you now?
71. I'm an old woman.
I was just wondering about when you were liberated and you went through that frenzy of wanting revenge.
Yes.
What happened to those feelings? How long did they stay with you?
They stayed with me till I came back to Poland. And I said, you know, if I want to have anybody of my family, if I don't find anybody, I said, I don't want to be Jewish anymore. I don't want to suffer anymore. But the minute, you know, I met my brothers, my cousins, the feeling was back again. You know, was back again. And why, I don't know why they say, you are chosen people. Why? Can't I choose somebody else instead? Why we have to be the chosen one? Yeah?
Have you returned to Poland since?
No. No, I don't want to. If I go to Israel to see my son and my grandchildren, my daughter, I got cousins there and all from my husband's side. And when I come to Israel, I go and see them too, because, you know, I don't want them to say, well, my husband, my cousin died and she doesn't bother with us. And I'm not a person. I love family. I love people. I love people. No.
Do you have any good memories or loving memories of any of your youth in Poland?
Yes, when I was home, when I was a little girl, that's the only good memories I have. And then when we went into the ghetto, was misery and hunger and all that. What memories can you have, good ones? You know,
in the main, they're very bad memories.
Very bad memories, and I don't wish to have those memories, and I hope we'll never come to that. Never, you know. We have to fight to the last of a drop of blood. It will never happen, not to go like animals, like really animals, you know.
You mentioned earlier that your son had done a video.
Yes.
Could you tell me about what that was about?
Well, when my husband was sick, and before he wanted to go, he got married, and he said he wants to settle in Israel, wants to live in Israel. I wasn't very happy, because, you know, maybe we need a country, but I like my children to be near me. Maybe I'm selfish. And my husband used to say, What's wrong is going to Israel? It's our country. We have to have a country, but our country is nothing. But he was always bottling. He never used to talk. I was always the talker. And when he was sick, you know, my son came 3 times last time. 3 times he came. The last time I thought he will never see him again. And when he came, you know, he lived another 12 days. And that picture I will never forget. Hug each other, and he said to him, Harvey, help me. Can you help me? And they both cried in the ground. He said, Daddy, I wish I could, but I can't. I wish I could. Everything in our heart is going. I wish we can do anything about it. And he said to me, Tola, don't leave me. I'm very sick. So I stayed in hospital for 2 days and 2 nights, and I stayed there till his last breath was gone. And all my grandchildren, except Israel, was standing by him and said, goodbye, Papa, goodbye, Papa. And 3 of them remembered the number from Saint, and remembered the number, and gone. And the nurses made him look nicely, and then took him down. I kissed him goodbye. That's all. That was the finish. Another year we will do 50 years married. You know, worked so hard and saved and everything. When you need him now, he's not there. So what can you do? It's life. You get married together, but you don't die together.
You are a child of the Holocaust. You had very little normal life. You had your childhood robbed. How do you feel it affected the way you were in your later life?
Well, it did affect. It did affect me a lot because I didn't have, it was hard time. I didn't have anybody to, I mean, I was lucky. I had my brothers, which they looked after me after the war, like I told you before. But my children suffered terrible. They didn't have a grandmother. They didn't have a grandfather. You know, they always used to say, why this one has a grandfather, and then why this one got a grandmother, and why didn't we have? Now I said, well, Hitler killed him. Can't have him. But I had some nice, you know, ladies that worked for me in the fruit shop. They always say, I'll be your grandmother. You know, I didn't treat them like workers. You know, nobody, you know, if your person's nice, you treat them right, they're right back. You know, there's some, you know, but they're not. But most of them, they're nice people. Like, I mean, the water is different type of fish, and so is people. I mean, I'm a person, I like to give and take, but I don't like users. Do you know?
You've suffered a great deal of loss.
Yes.
What was the time, what was the bottom line, and where did that happen? How low did you go?
What do you mean?
When were things hardest? When was it the toughest time?
Well, I had lots of tough time. You know, I came when we got married. I lived in Germany in one room, and you know, and then I was pregnant with my daughter, Sandra, and the German woman used to say to me, "You won't boil those nappies in here." And I said, "If you die, I will." I was always, you know, and she always said, "I'm frightened for your eyes." And I said, "Do you?" I said, "You're frightened for my eyes. What did you do to us?" She said, "We didn't know anything about it." None of them said they didn't know about it. But one day I went out, You know, I used to speak very fluent German, you know. When you learn when you're young, you learn a lot. And a brother of his came. I was pregnant at the time. And I was saying, I said, where were you during the war? And he said he was a general in the army or something. And he was talking and all that. And then I went to the Jewish committee, and I wanted him to catch. But he was smarter. His sister came, of course, and he told her that I'm Jewish, and I was talking this, that, and he disappeared. So we couldn't find him anymore. You know what I mean? And I did boil. She said, no, you wouldn't. And I did boil the nappies in the kitchen. And I said, if you don't like it, you can leave. And that's all. I was very thin. It depends. Sometimes I can be very tough, and then I'm not born like that. And sometimes I'm very soft. It depends, you know. Sometimes you have to fight for yourself.
So what did you learn about your strengths, given your experiences?
When I have to. When I have to. So when my husband died, I was lost. I was really lost. I was like a lost ship. Well, it's 3 years, so I have to start being myself. There's no other choice. You have to do what you have to do, and that's all it is, you know. You know, I had sciatica, and I was very sick. And during the day, my friends come in, the kids come in, and at night time, I got so sick, and I said, that's not it. I ring up to my doctor, and I said, I have to go and see my children, and I have to go and see my brother. I thought that's the last time I'm going to see him. I went to hospital, said, all right, I'll make you well. You will go and see them. And I went to hospital, and from the hospital I arranged tickets with my girlfriend, and I went with a wheelchair. I went to Israel. It's funny, but it's not funny. Of course, my kid, you know. And of course, my son is a doctor, but you know, but they say all shoemakers go without shoes. But anyway, you know, they looked after me, and I had physio and everything, and I'm much better, much better. You see, you ring me up, and I said, you want to do the video? I said, do it, finished, you know.
Are there still things that you can't talk about?
Well, it's a lot of things I can't talk about, which this is in my heart, and I hope everything will come back to normal, and I have to support my kids. I hope one day we'll work out everything all right. We have to support each other. You know, I ringed the other day, I ringed up to Israel. I told my son about that video making, and he felt, Mom, you feeling all right? And I put the phone away. A minute later, my little granddaughter, Ayala, she's 3. You didn't talk to me, Nana. I love you. I want you to come back to my house, the 3-year-old. That's beautiful, isn't it? That you need it, you want it to be needed. And the other day, you know, the little Joshie came to sleep here, and he said, why are you staying by yourself here? You can go live with us. It's nice to live with everybody. That's nice to have your own corner, isn't it?
You were saying before that you love Australia and wish you'd have been born here.
Yes.
So you feel a level of safety?
Oh yes, yes. Of course, I'm a citizen, and I belong here, and it's wonderful. I brought up 3 children here and educated, and they got children, and it's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
And what has the rise of Pauline Hanson?
Oh, well, this is politic, you know. Well, I don't want to talk politics because, well, she shouldn't say what she did because that's not right. She shouldn't say you racist because we all, you know, I won't talk politics. Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say to her if you met her?
Well, if I would say face by face, maybe I would talk different. But in the video, it's got nothing to do with her. It's got to do between me and my children, my family. I'm right? Right?
Right.
Thank you.
What would you say to those people that say the Holocaust didn't happen, or it didn't happen in such big numbers?
Well, those people, what they didn't went through, they say it's not happened. Intelligent people would, if they read and they have friends which they went through, they wouldn't say that. People what low classes, not educated, they would say that. But people, educated people, they know that exists because the Holocaust Center here in Elsternwick, and lots of children going through that, and lots of people. I got friends where they work there, and they say it's unbelievable. But how many people go through professors, even some of from the churches, you know, they all go through and they're asking questions and all that, and they're amazed. And the Schindler's List, that's a true story. What they make that film, this is really a true story what he did. But I think he is buried in Israel. I went past his grave. Yeah, and it's a lot of Gentiles trade what they survive. A lot of people survive. Look in Holland, how many people survive. Look, I met now a cousin in Paris, but I met him for the first time, and he was 8 years old in Paris. I can show you a picture I got now taken with him, that he was with the whole family, and the German came in, and they locked up the whole house. And that boy went on the roof, and then he came in, and he lived for months and months in that house of potatoes and eggs, whatever he could find. And he was the biggest, you know, fashion in Paris. I got the things there. The biggest designer. He's retired now. And then I met. There was 4 sisters, my cousins too. 4 sisters. I met him for the first time, and I met only 2 of them, but they were in a convent, and they were as Christians, but you know, with the clothes, with big crosses, and 2 of them I met, and the 4 survived, and one is a very in Paris, in the biggest hospital. She runs the biggest hospital in Paris. See? That's the story.
So what are the things you value most in life?
Well, what I value most to have freedom, health, and see my children healthy and happy. This is my profit. And Hitler thought he killed them all. He didn't. We still got some left. He didn't kill them all. And I hope it'll never, never happen again. No, I wish I went through for all of, never happen again.
Is there something you would like your grandchildren to know about your mother and your father, their great-grandparents?
Yes, I often talk about them. Yes, I will talk about it. Well, we're making that video, and we put all the photos in front. And sometime when they get a bit older, and they wanted to know to show to their children, they'll have it, because I won't be here forever. So that's why I'm doing that. And it's not an easy thing. I haven't slept all night. hadn't slept all night. Everything went through. I was living through all those screamings with all those things. I hope it will never, never happen to it again.
You told us that the reason you decided to tell your story was because, was it your daughter-in-law who has lost her family?
Yes.
And there is no story there.
That's right.
And you're doing this.
I'm doing it for all of my children, for all my children, and especially for my grandchildren, so that they pass on to their children. That will never happen again. They should fight for the right. They shouldn't go like animals. They will fight like my uncle in Warsaw. He didn't want to go to the things, and he fought with his family to the last breath.
Now that over 50 years have passed, is there some message or legacy you'd like to leave to this generation and coming generations about the Holocaust and about your experiences?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. They should fight for the rights, for freedom, and it should never happen that again. Never, ever.
Is there anything that we've skipped over or left out that you would like to add before we finish?
Well, I would like to show that picture from my mother's, it's not really from the grave, because my brother David went to Poland and he put in the cemetery, he made a stone to remember my parents and my younger brother Michael. But I can't find a photo. I would like to put it into that. So I can't find a photo. So I'm just saying it. If I find it, I give it to my kids.
We'll have a quick look for it before we do the photos.
Okay.
And just one last question. Did you ever seek restitution?
I beg your pardon?
Did you seek restitution from the German?
Well, look at that way. Whatever they give it to us, it's not. They will never pay it off with their life, and with they paid for work, and they took a lot from us away, which money can't buy it. You never can replace it. You can replace a ring, a jewelry, or furniture, a house, but you can't replace your loved one for no money in the world.
Tola, I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming and take the time to do it. And it took me a year to decide to do it. And you got me in a spot. And that's why I'm doing it. For my family, for my grandchildren. They will never ever happen again. They stood up for a right. And what are you born, you have to fight for your right. And then that's what I mean, what I said. It would never happen again. We wouldn't let it happen again. That's why we're fighting all the time in Israel.
Thank you.
And we should have a country, no matter what. We should have, Israel is our home, no matter what.
Thank you, Tola.
Thank you.